So in order to get your outer gearbox out, you're going to need to remove the lower gearbox. Now if you have this special, this is not really special, but if you have a rounded head hex, you can get in there and you can actually access it from the side and you can turn your screws. But if you, so if you want to get the outer gearbox out, like I said, you can go ahead and you can use the rounded 1.5. And you can actually get in there and you can turn these screws no problem without stripping them out. So you see I'm turning them no problem. And then I might be able to turn them with a longer wrench, but still probably going to strip them out. So definitely not going to get them with this small Losi wrench. It doesn't want to get in there and it doesn't want to get in there square with the screw. So I'm just going to show you what to do. So let's show you. The first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go ahead and remove this outer gear cover. So grab yourself a 2mm wrench. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is remove the gear cover, the pinion cover. Then we'll go ahead and just remove the whole entire spur assembly. So the reason why we have to take this off in order to get this out is because we have to get this pinion shaft out of here. So there is an E-clip right there, so let's go ahead and take that E-clip off and we'll just go ahead and pull the whole push drive spur gear assembly right out. So I like to use just a pick. There are other tools to do it. I use an old tool, I sharpen it down, and I also like to do it on my PnwRc mats. There we go, clip is off. So now you can just pull the whole push drive and spur gear right out. Make sure not to lose the shaft and the bearings. One last bearing, grab your bearing. Then there's one more E-clip on there. So like I said, I just like to use a pick and I like to shield it so it doesn't go flying over the whole room. There are other tools for this one that will work, but I still like to use my pick. There we go. So I kind of skipped a step on camera, but you're going to want to pull all these screws out. You already have the link screws out, but you want to pull these two on this side, and you want to pull the two on this side. Next step, we're just going to go ahead and remove this lower cover. All right, so we got the lower cover removed. Now you can see down in there, center diff. So next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and grab a 2.5, and here's the tip. When you go to put it back in, on this side right here, towards the rear of the truck, you're going to want to have the grub screws facing straight down. So let's go ahead and pull off the axles, the center shafts I mean, sorry. So we'll go ahead and just loosen up the grub screw and the axle. Pull that completely out. So there's one grub screw. Now remember, you're going to want to do this when they're facing down. So I'll show you here in a second. So after you get your grub screws out, you're just going to go ahead and pull the drive shafts right off. Now they might be a little sticky from the factory. You just go ahead and keep tugging. So we got the axles out. Next thing you're going to do are there are 4 screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure if I can zoom in. You can see there are 2.5 hex. So you're going to want to use a 2.5 hex. Alright, so we got all 4 screws loose. Now we can just go ahead and pull the whole diff out. Now one thing to remember, the ring gear is going to go in the back of the truck. Okay, when you go to put the diff back in, the ring gear is going to go towards the back of the truck. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull her out. Alright, so I'd like to just grab the diff right by the outdrives and just wiggle it right out. Okay, so there we go. So here's the part I'm talking about. So there is a little groove right there. When you go to put your diff back in and your shafts back on, you're going to want that groove facing outward towards the back and toward the front. Okay, so there's the pinion gear. We're going to go ahead and grab it with a wrench There we go. So now we'll take these last 2 screws out and we'll be ready to pull it apart. All right, so we got the lower screws removed. We got one more up here on top, and then we'll be able to go ahead and flip it back over and pull the bottom section out. Awesome, we got the last screw out. Let's go ahead and flip it over and then just kind of wiggle the bottom piece right out. There we go. So that is how the stock diff gearbox is made. The Treal gearbox is not the same. I'll do a video on that. So now we are ready to pull this out. Okay, so we got the lower section of the gearbox out. Now all we got to do is just pull this up and out it comes. So there we go. All right, so we got the gearbox completely out. Last thing you're going to do to get your outer cover off is use your 1.5, and you're going to go ahead and get these 3 screws out. So